Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Property Pros podcast. I'm Mark Goldwich.
I'm Peter Laframboy.
We're both public insurance adjusters in Jacksonville, Florida, but interested in all things property. And to that end, we have a great guest for you today. Brynn Allen is a realtor and owner of the Central Florida Home Navigator website. Brynn, take a couple of minutes. Tell us about yourself and your work.
My name is Brynn Allen. I've been living and working in real estate in Florida since 1998. So I've been here a few years, and I love my job. I've been doing it a long time. It's a great job to have to help people and really look out for people in a business that can sometimes not always have that as the result. I think real estate agents tend to give us a bad, negative connotation at times, but it's fun to be good at it and do it the right way.
Yeah, I bet. That's a lot of experience at it. And we all know over the past 2 years, it's been really wild, this swings and momentum with real estate. Why don't you take us back to COVID hitting? What were you thinking and where's it brought you to today? Because COVID back in 2020, now it's, the beginning of 2023. Interest rates are climbing, things are changing, but there's still properties are in demand here in Florida, right?
Yeah. So honestly, I remember sitting, in my home office thinking, okay, this is the end. I better think about a new career because people are going to not need to buy houses anymore. The economy is going to be terrible. I mean, I just was so stressed out about it. And all of a sudden we're an essential, business. I'm like, oh, I guess I can still sell houses. And, you have a few weeks of nothing. And then all of a sudden it was almost like people had nothing better to do other than let's move to Florida.
Yeah. Everybody knows a realtor, right? There are a lot of realtors out there. Tell us more about your personal approach to real estate. Do you prefer dealing with buyers or sellers? Just your style of real estate.
I like both. I do buyers more probably than sellers just based upon how my marketing works. But of course, those buyers eventually one day they turn into sellers. So it's about half and half. When I'm helping a buyer, I just feel like we're shopping, let's go shopping together. Let's find the house that you want. I'm not trying to sell somebody on, let me this can, I'm going to sell it to you because I'm going to try to convince you that it's what you want. I'm just helping you find the right house. So I'm more of, an assistant. Let me just assist you in finding exactly what you want. And, it's a little home search. So it's fun.
Well, right before we got on air, we talked about some things that you're doing specifically that maybe other agents aren't. You have a website and some tech options that are unique. We've not experienced those. Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about it?
Sure, yeah. My website, centralfloridahomenavigator.com, is getting ready to launch their own app. So I should say my own app. It will be pretty cool. It's going to have, just the MLS feed, just like Zillow would have, or any other of the synchronized websites with a multiple listing service. And you'll also have access to all my vendors. So if you said, hey, Brynn, I need a mortgage. Well, guess what? There's, a square on the app. You tap that. It tells you all the mortgage people that I use. It'll also have links to their applications. So, I can't tell you how many times I'm working with someone and it's crunch time. Now they're like, oh, yeah, I know you told me that. You sent me that email with that lender. Well, now it's just going to be on their phone automatically, as well as the home inspection companies, everything, title companies, everything that you're going to need for the home buying process. And even beyond that, now you've moved in and great, I need somebody to come hang my ceiling fans. I need a roofer. I need a painter. So all of those things will be right in the app.
Maybe we can put ourselves on the app there too. That'd be
right. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Absolutely.
At some point in home ownership, something happens to someone's property and they need a public adjuster to help them with their claim. So that could be a good fit.
I think it's perfect. Let's do
All
it.
right.
I'm collecting data right now for all of my vendors.
All right. Yeah, that sounds really cool. I actually really like that
Yeah.
idea. It does help people, especially when they move in. There's a post sale. For people moving out of the state, they don't know who to call for what, right? So when you mention buyers, you're probably getting people from other parts of the country.
Yeah, so the way my website works, it attracts buyers from, I get a lot of that. I think a lot of my success comes from that because when I get in touch with those folks, they need me more maybe than someone that lives in Central Florida who has 7 friends that are real estate agents, like you said. So it kind of lends to that more. And I'm constantly just sharing information with my buyers through, as soon as they move in, it's, okay, Brynn, hey, you said that the chiropractor you go to that's great is, tell me that name again. I'm constantly just texting over contacts. And instead of that, it'll just be in my app. So it'll be so nice to just say, download the app, dude. Like, and because I really do. It's just like, oh, okay, this person, that person,
I mean, that's what
So,
realtors are known for, is their contacts, their connections, their resources. They have pretty much a guy
sure.
for any job that you need. They have that guy. It's always been that way. You've just taken it, and I'm going to put it out there for everybody to see. You don't have to come bother me or come ask me every time you need something. I've already given it to you. All you have to do is go get it. So that's a really good that's an extra good tool, being proactive on your part and giving rather than just having it available if someone asks the right question. So you're in Greater Orlando, correct?
Yeah, I live and work in Windermere. Most of my business is in Southwest Orlando. I do a lot in Claremont. Claremont's becoming one of the more reasonable priced areas to live in. Um, Winter Garden, Claremont, Windermere, Dr. Phillips. But I mean, I've sold homes in Lake Nona. We have a house in New Smyrna, so I'm there a lot. I've sold a few over there as well. You know, Mount Dora, I get a few out there too. My husband worked out there, so I've done quite a few out there. Referrals from his job. So
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say it's a huge area. There has to be certain areas within that, for if people are looking to get with you, how far out do you go and things like that.
yeah, I mean, pretty much, all the way up to Oviedo, I would say, even over to New Smyrna, and then north, northeast, or sorry, northwest over to Mount Dora, Tavares area, Eustis.
So what have you been seeing lately? Where are most of your clients coming from? Is there a particular region of the United States or the state or where?
It's it's always been New York. I mean, New York, New Jersey, Long Island, it's just always been that. But I mean, lately I've had more Midwesterners. I've had Ohio, Michigan. Um, my latest clients this weekend, hmm, one, I'm a Midwesterner myself, so yeah, yay. So a couple from Germany is here right now buying a property. Um, and then the other one's California, second home from California. I think that's this most recently. So really just everywhere,
What do they tell you is their main reason for coming?
A lot of times I'll get, especially from out west, Portland, Washington, those areas will say, we want to come live where Governor DeSantis lives. you know, they want red politics. I'm not saying anything either way, but I do get a lot of that. They want to no taxes. It's all the same thing we're always hearing. You get to work from home now. You can keep your New York salary and come to Florida and not pay state tax.
And enjoy some sunshine
So
now and then.
right, and not have the bad, terrible weather. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I almost always thought that was the number one reason was lifestyle was the number one reason. I guess if you're coming from Southern California, the lifestyle's gotta be somewhat similar in terms of the outdoor weather, but Florida compared to the Midwest or to the Northeast, you can go outside
Right.
year round. You just can't do that up there.
For sure.
And I
Yeah.
mean, shoveling snow in the morning after morning, weeks and months on end. I mean, that's not for me.
It's depressing.
I tell all my clients that I will shovel all of their snow after they buy a house from me
Right.
any day.
Yeah,
Just call me when it
that's
snows. I'll be
right.
there.
No kidding.
Great idea.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Something fun to bring up with them, and and like a satisfaction guarantee that you never have to worry about.
Right. Yeah. I promise to keep that
Right.
promise.
All right. You've how many different maybe firms have you been with? You've been doing this a long time. What has your career path been like?
So I started in real estate at the ripe age of 19 years old when I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada. And what did I do? I did out there, I was an assistant for some guy at Remax for about a year. And then I decided I wanted to go into new home sales. And I did that for a couple of years. That brought me out to Orlando. And then when I was here, at first I tried to sell timeshare, and that was a disaster because I didn't believe in it. And so I sold 0 timeshares. So that lasted about 3 months. And then I just decided I would start my own company. And I started my own real estate company, and I did that for a number of years. And then there was a period of time I had a few kids and kind of, I had my license, I had my business, but I wasn't doing a lot. I was having babies and that kind of thing. And when I went through a divorce, back in 2014, I ramped it back up and just kind of decided to start working for someone else. And I worked for a team, and I learned a lot about websites and how to use those to grow your business. On that team, I learned a lot of cool things, and eventually got my own website. And a couple of years ago, I landed here at Corcoran, and it's a great company. I love my broker. I love people I work with. I love their whole luxury kind of feel of this company. It's a great company.
Have you ever met Barbara before?
I haven't. She doesn't really own this. She sold it. She sold this business to Realty. So Realty owns a lot of different real estate companies. I think Coldwell Banker, a few others.
So what was that? I mean, you mentioned that the team element and that they taught you some tricks that you didn't know. I mean, is that the precipice? Because I kind of like this. I'm the same way. I could go out on my own, but I've always liked working for Mark and with him for like 10 years now, I guess. So it just works. I like it.
Yeah, I started as their first buyer's agent, mostly because I had been married for a number of years, and like I said, I was having kids and was getting divorced, and was like, I actually need to make a real salary out of this, make some real money. And my business had kind of just, it was like a friend needs a house. I wasn't doing a lot for a number of years. So I needed to kind of ramp it up, and they had buyer leads, and I was like, hey, they said, yeah, we've been looking for a buyer's agent. Nobody wants to be a buyer's agent. Everybody wants to just sell listings. And they taught me the system, they just kind of gave me the leads on the back end, and I started calling people and doing my jam, and they were great teachers, and they're good people. And so, yeah, I learned a lot from them. Eventually, they hired 3 or 4 other people. I became their lead buyer's agent, and I trained people, and then eventually just decided, start my own website.
Very good. The how does it work? Because not a lot of people. I don't hear that often. That they have a brokerage has a realtor that's doing well, and then they have them train other realtors.
So it was kind of a team situation where this guy had his own. He has a very successful website where he gets a lot of leads, and so he can't possibly call all these people or work all these leads. So then you work for him, and you get a much smaller piece of the commission, but they're handing you the leads. So it's good for people starting out, to do that kind of business plan. But then after a while, you're like, well, I'd kind of like to get just kind of have my own thing. And so eventually I wanted to do that. But So he would hire other people, and then I would train them on what to do.
You get paid
Eventually
something extra separate for training them, or is just you just being nice?
a little bit, not very much.
which is
I'm
which
not there anymore,
I mean,
am I?
that's right. That's a reason. That's a bad play
Yeah,
on his part. He had somebody really good who
yeah.
could probably train people really well, and instead of providing the incentive for you to stay there long term, he basically disincentivized you so that you would leave.
You read between the lines very well.
I see it happen a lot, and
Yeah.
I just well, except for the greed money factor, I just don't get it.
So So it's funny you say that because now I've got people that are working with me and on my what helping me with my leads, and I've been, I think, overly fair with them. Like, listen, I know what position you're in, and this is how we're going to do it. Your lead is your lead. If they refer somebody to you, that's your lead from forever. I get a little bit from the first transaction, and then after that, you're building your own business by working these leads. And and I expect most of them to eventually say, you know what, I'm good now. My business is built because that business did working for them did help me build my business because those customers didn't care that they were 123 Realty or this sort of specific website. They cared that I was their realtor, and they called me back a number of years later when they were selling their home or they wanted to buy another home. It had. We all want to think that our branding is so amazing that the company. It's all about people, right? It's always all about people.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because we have a similar dynamic here, and we kind of run this business like we kind of model it after real estate because I was a realtor in '99 to about '06. And so there's a lot of parallels between the two, and then I just kind of have done the office similar to a brokerage, and my realtors are my public adjusters instead of realtors, but we kind of have a similar dynamic, and but I really try to incentivize them to stay long term, even though they can go out on their own. If you get it to the right mix, well, why would I? You're taking care of these business things and the website and things that I don't want to, and I get a decent to a really good share or split or commission or
Yeah,
however you want to put it.
correct. And they don't have to worry about when the market starts to dip and I'm spending thousands of dollars on advertising and marketing and Google ads and all these things. If they don't close a house, they don't get a sale, but they also aren't out money,
Yeah, we still have to worry about those things because most of them they're generating their own leads, and I haven't seen a website yet that will bring in the lion's share of the business, and I would think it could be similar between realtors and public adjusters, but it's really not because everybody knows about realtors, and almost literally almost nobody, like maybe less than 5% of the population has ever heard the term public adjuster, right? So you can market it all you want, and if they don't know what it is, it doesn't reach them.
Sure, true.
But it's cool.
It's interesting. Oh, I was just saying that's interesting. With the whole, everybody knows a realtor in the neighborhood I live in. I think there's probably 10 biggish realtors, that live there. So, with me considered maybe at the bottom of those 10, and it's always funny to me because some of them get so upset that, oh, I can't believe this person listed with this person. And I'm like, come on, like what? How can you get angry with anybody? I mean, I have zero expectations to, you just
Well,
can't.
there's big and then there's better, right?
Right. That's the other thing too is, if someone has, let's say, this huge listing portfolio and they sell so many homes, you are one of many, many, many people versus someone who has a lot of experience. So they've done enough of it to do it well, but they are not so big that they're too busy to take your phone calls or to answer your, I think that's when things start to go like this, and then they start to go like this, because I'm going to be real frustrated if my biggest asset is listed with somebody that doesn't take my phone calls and, sitting there. That could be frustrating, I think. That's one of the things I hear a lot is, you're so accessible, you always answer the phone. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's a service-based business. Well, that happens with us. I mean, we were talking about nobody knows what we are until there's a disaster. So down in Southwest Florida, certain neighborhoods, everybody's got a public adjuster. So at night, you're either doing good or you're doing bad, but word will spread really quick in that subdivision.
So what happens down there? I mean, with all of that.
Well, what happens?
I mean, what doesn't happen? What's happening a lot now in Florida, and it's maybe happening in other parts of the country too, is it's a valid claim. Claims are happening, and then the payments from the insurance companies are going remarkably slow because nobody, definitely not here, is putting a lot of pressure on the insurance companies to do right. So, when there's a large disaster like that, the insurance, you've maybe heard this term now, reinsurance, because that's going to be their new blame. They've gotten so many rules changed in their favor, they're going to start to blame reinsurance. But they purchase what they think they need, and they got to make a deductible payment against that reinsurance to pay a claim. And makes me wonder if they can even cover their deductible payments on some of these storms, because they're so slow at making the payments. If it takes 2 or 3 years, you've just collected 3, maybe 4 more premiums in that time, if you've kept the customer that. And then, of course, if you drop them somewhere in between, you put a great deal of pressure on the person who owns that business or building or house to take whatever is being offered so that they can go get insurance in case something else happens.
It sounds like my divorce a little bit.
Right, and it's been
it is, it's strong-arming somebody, really, at the end of the day.
It is.
Yeah.
And who's got all the time in the world besides these insurance companies? I mean, their home is okay, right? They don't have to worry about a rental property that they're paying for in addition to their mortgage that they're paying for, and all their property is damaged and their contents are damaged and they're having to buy new clothes, furniture, and appliances and different things, even in a rental. And they have all the luxury of all the time in the world, and they know with certainty that the longer they can drag out the process, the lower that claim will settle for in the end, because the person would rather walk away with little to nothing than to endure another 6 to 12 months of the stalling and the garbage and the nonsense. And it's they, for their sanity, they would walk away from tens of thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you would think, well, no one is going to walk away from $100,000, and unless they're a billionaire, right? But these are regular working people, middle class people, who yet they will walk away from 6 figures just to be done with the claim.
So, it's funny. We have a house in New Smyrna that got hit really hard on the beach, and our seawall was just gone. I mean, totally gone. And it was a 50-year-old seawall. And we called FEMA, and they were on it, Johnny on the spot. They came out the very next day. He said, yeah, I don't know what I can, of course the seawall's not covered under our policy. But if we, and then there was the first storm, and then the second storm came along. We put up a temporary seawall in the meantime. And the temporary seawall was taken out by the second storm. We finished it the day before the second storm, and the second storm took it out. It was just crazy. But, I mean, we're lucky that we had the seawall and that we had the temporary seawall, because I think half of our land would be just completely gone right now if we didn't. But so FEMA comes out, they were so helpful. We got $89.47 or something like that. I mean, he's like, oh, we'd love to help you. I'm like thinking, oh, this is going to be good. We're going to get, I think it's the estimate's about $300,000 to fix it, to replace it. And they gave us $89. So everyone thinks FEMA's, this is going to be the solution. And they don't do anything.
How can they possibly calculate that amount? What went into that calculation?
I don't know where it comes from. I guess, we did have like $4,000 of water, like a window that leaked. And we're not complaining after seeing what happened in Fort Myers, and even just a little further down the beach. It's like, okay, we're blessed. It's fine. But it was just kind of laughable that we got $89. Like it changes nothing. It almost makes you want to say, like, why don't you add up all of the little $89 and actually give something to somebody that will make a difference in their life? Because that's not going to change our lives at all.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's common, but they do it with a paid-for company, a for-profit company. That's what happens. Same type of thing. FEMA's government backed, but the for-profit companies will do the same thing. Or like, hey, we have this huge loss. I'm like, yeah, we're great. We'll be there right away. We're all over it. Johnny on the spot. We calculated that we owe you a check. Oh, it's just shy of your $7,000 deductible. Or
Of
your
course, it always
$10,000
is, right?
I wish we could pay it.
And it's amazing how consistently they're very far off. I started out working for an insurance company, and that's all I did is I traveled the country paying claims. And you think you're doing a good job, and I do. I remember a case where somebody calculated one of my adjusters calculated the payment, and they were going to send out a check for $8. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? You don't send somebody a check for $8. You either refigure it and it comes out to nothing, because that's actually, someone is less upset with that than getting a check for $8, like you got one for 89, or you recalculate it and you make it several hundred to a couple $1,000. But you're not going to send out a check for $8. It costs more than that to have the check printed and mailed and sent out. But it's just crazy, kind of like the lack of thought process that is involved in so many cases.
Interesting stuff. It's definitely changing. The insurance companies, or the insurance business, is definitely changing things with real estate right now too. I had a client that was looking at a house on a lake in Mount Dora, about 1.4 million, and the realtor had sent over a checklist, which was really helpful, and it had all the utility companies, and it had their insurance company and their premium, and the premium was $12,000. And I was like, well, wait, this can't be right. You guys are, I don't think this is correct, right? I called her and I'm like, this isn't right. This has got to be wrong. I think you guys, I know it's not 1,200, but it must be like 4,000 or 5,000. And we shopped it, and sure enough, it was $12,000 for, it was on a lake. So it did include, and the property, is one of those big pie pieces of property that a few acres are in the lakes. The mortgage company is going to make you have flood insurance. And that was the price when we shopped it. It was $12,000, including flood insurance.
Are you seeing other ways that in the insurance market, all the new legislation, you seeing any other ways that it's impacting homeowners? I know a lot of times now, once a roof gets over 12 years old, they start to get letters that you may not have covered. What are you seeing about that?
One of the biggest things I do when I'm showing homes is, and buyers don't really know this, but if the home's older than a few years old, I look and see if the hot water heater has ever been replaced. Because if it hasn't, I tell them, listen, when you call the insurance company, if they're and your water heater is 2002, they're going to tell you an astronomical rate, unless it's tankless or something, for your insurance. But they don't tell you all the time is replace your hot water heater and that rate will like go down by $2,000 and a hot water heater costs $800. It makes no sense, you know. But apparently they cause a lot of fires. And I mean, that I don't have a problem with so much, but then tell them, okay, listen, if you had a brand new hot water heater, then your rate would be a lot less. So that's one of the tips that I usually implement with them, like check the hot water heater, make sure. I have a good insurance guy that usually, you know, makes sure that they know to ask that question, can you replace it before closing? And the roof, yeah, of course, the roof is always, I mean, that's really where the issue is, I think, you know. And these tile roofs that are supposed to be 50-year roofs, and after 15 or 20 years, you know, they don't want to insure it. And you've got 30 years left on this roof that they want us to replace for $100,000. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Brynn, I think that covers it, unless there's anything else you want to talk to us about. That's pretty good. All right.
Yeah. How can people reach you?
407-617-8963. Go to my website, www.centralfloridahomenavigator.com.
Very easy peasy. Thank you for taking the time chatting with us today. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too. For those of you that are listening to this episode, you think you might want to be a future guest and talk about your own business, then please reach out to us. Other than that, Brynn, thanks again for being a part of this. It was a great episode. We appreciate you coming on.